The purpose of this recording is to provide exemplification of the top end of CEFR Level B2 performance for speaking. We'll talk about indicators of performance that make this test taker typical of the top of the B2 band. This recording only provides test taker responses. If you would like further context for the questions in this recording, you can find the corresponding test item audio and transcripts in the video, Speaking Exemplification, item audio and transcripts. These are genuine responses from test takers. The responses have not been manipulated in any way. Therefore, there may be responses shorter than the allotted time, or the test taker may run out of time when providing their response. Table 1 shows the alignment of PTE Academic scores to the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, or CEFR. The exemplification materials in this resource have been selected using this alignment. These exemplification materials show responses from test takers who have been classified at each CEFR band based on their PTE Academic speaking score. It should be noted that speaking scores come from the combination of many test items that measure different aspects of language proficiency. The purpose of these exemplars is to show the range of item responses produced by test takers in different CEFR bands and to provide indicative evidence of the key features of speaking performances across and within CEFR language proficiency bands. At the high B2 level, test takers should be able to describe the main features and all relevant details of task prompts in a well-structured and fluent manner, though some hesitation is still likely as they process aspects of the prompt. Any errors made are likely to be minor and/or involve attempts to use more complex language. For each test item, you will hear the test taker's response first, followed by the commentary on their response.
This graph shows the population in South Africa in 1996 to 2016. From this graph, we can see that in 1996, there are about 20 million male and 20 million female in South Africa. This figure increased to about 25 million in male in South Africa and about 25 million in female in South Africa. So as a conclusion, we can see that the population in South Africa is increasing steadily for both male and females.
This test taker fully understands the chart and is able to use good communicative skills to synthesize information and produce an effective summary. In keeping with expectations of test takers at the high B2 language proficiency level, she is able to give a clear, detailed description using a logical structure. For example, she finishes by saying, "As a conclusion, we can see that the population in South Africa is increasing steadily for both males and females." She demonstrates good levels of accuracy and fluency, making occasional errors, for example 25 million in female, that can be understood with ease.
In this lecture, the lecturer advised Melbourne is a good example of a dispersed city. In the old days, when the public transportation is not reliable, people cannot travel to anywhere else because it's not practical. It's very difficult to travel across the city or from suburb to another suburb. However, Melbourne is a spread city because its public transportation system in recent, although it's stayed traditional for decades.
This task requires test takers to demonstrate both their receptive and productive skills. Here, the test taker shows B2 level oral comprehension in being able to understand the main ideas of a relatively complex lecture. B2 level productive ability is also evident in the way that she gives a clear and detailed description of the points she has understood. As we would expect at high B2 level, The test taker has a relatively high degree of grammatical and lexical accuracy. Some word choice errors do occur. For example, public transport system in recent. But these do not hinder communication.
There are three speakers in this conversation. They are discussing the open day for the university. One of the speaker, and he is a male. He's questioning why they are having an open day because they had to turn up lots of students and reject their application. The female, her name is Alina. She said this is about the expectation. The open day will help the student to understand what the university can offer and what the students can learn here. And so she think it is very necessary. And the other speaker, the male, and he advised this helps to generate the diversity in the university, and they will accept students from both state school and private school, and they will accept all background students and give them a chance to know what the school can offer and what the university can help the student to do. So they are discussing this conversation, and they also have lots of first year students as volunteers to answer lots of questions here, and then let them know about what the good and the bad points of the university. So they finally they reach an agreement, says this open day is meaningful, and lots of people are looking forward to be part of it. They hope students can enjoy their day here and get the answer of their questions.
As we would expect of high B2 level users of English, this test taker can keep up with an animated conversation and identify the attitudes of participants. She demonstrates a clear understanding of the different perspectives shared within the discussion. Unlike lower level test takers, she manages to catch a speaker's name, as well as other less essential details. She produces stretches of language with a fairly even tempo and few noticeably long pauses. But, as is common at high B2 level, there are still parts of her summary where she is hesitant as she searches for vocabulary or the right sentence structure. Her phonological control is reasonably strong at the individual word level, but her overall stress patterns and intonation are influenced by the other language or languages she speaks.
As for new apartments gift, I would like to give her something that is useful in her daily life. I would suggest a home fragrance, probably a candle. That would.
In a way that we would expect at high B2 level, this test taker can interact with fluency and confidence in a spontaneous manner, as is required by this task. She is able to express her idea with some precision, though lexical and phonological issues reduce the quality of the response as a whole, preventing her from reaching C1 level. For example, she says, "new apartments gift," instead of "gift for a new apartment," and she adds a third syllable when saying useful. Her response is cut off towards the end, but only after she has fulfilled the requirements of the task by making and explaining her suggestion.
I have a chart in front of me, and it is the population of South Africa in 1996 to 2016. They measured the population by female and males. The female are color blue, and the males are color black. From 1996, it is estimated that 40 million population are in South Africa. In 2001, it increases again in 2007, and again in 2011, and increases again in 2016. And in 2016, it's almost 50 million. And the chart is very informative and colorful.
This test taker gives a clear, systematically developed description of the chart, as we would expect at high B2 level. He also manages to round off the description with an appropriate conclusion, something that is characteristic of C1 level oral production. However, the overall quality of the description does not reach C1 level for a number of reasons. Although the lexical accuracy is generally high, the test taker lacks the level of grammatical control necessary for C1. For example, he says, "This measure, the 40 million population, are in South Africa." Furthermore, C1 level test takers are expected to be able to select from several vocabulary options in almost all situations by exploiting synonyms. This test taker fails to demonstrate this ability. For example, he repeats the word increase as he describes the trend shown on the chart.
The lecture was about the public transportation in Melbourne, how the city can grow with public transportation. That shows the importance of the public transportation in the country or in a city that is growing. So any tram, cars, or buses are crucial to a city that is growing. The lecture was very informative, and the speaker was very knowledgeable about what he is saying and what he spoke about. So the listener did understood the assignment.
Demonstrating the level of oral comprehension ability and oral production ability that we would expect at high B2 level, the test taker manages to convey an understanding of the lecture's main points. Having succinctly summarized these main points, he moves on to round off his answer by saying, "The lecture was very informative, earlier than required by the time limit." Though suitably structured, the overall quality of his response would have been improved if he had included more detail from the lecture. Although reasonably fluent, the test taker's summary of the lecture is not delivered in an almost effortless manner, the kind we would expect at C1 level. Despite having a good level of lexical control, he often needs to hesitate as he tries to find the right word.
The three university instructors or professors are talking about the demand about the students, if they really need new students or not, if they are accepting new students or not from international or local ones, and they are debating if they are going to still accept students from international students or local ones because they have a higher reputation in education. Some students are not very comfortable in enrolling in their systems because they are not confident enough that they are fit within the educational systems, and they want to show the world or the students, prospective students, that they are accepting in any kind of backgrounds in the society. So they're trying to open the university to everyone, and they are also trying to advertise their school to the students. And the three professors are very knowledgeable of what they are speaking. They really know what they are told, and they really understand what they are going to say, and they are very knowledgeable about what they are talking about. That is all. Thank you.
This test taker demonstrates a good level of understanding of the discussion and manages to summarize it in a succinct, well-structured manner, highlighting the range of perspectives provided by the speakers and, for the most part, attributing them to the right speaker. As we would expect at high B2 level, he speaks with a good level of grammatical control without much sign of having to restrict what he wants to say, adopting a level of formality appropriate to the circumstances. At high B2 level, test takers are generally able to use appropriate intonation, place stress correctly, and articulate individual sounds clearly, as this test taker demonstrates. He uses stress to highlight key words, for example, if they really need new students or not, and contrasts, for example, local and international.
What I can suggest to them is to buy the necessity to have in an apartment, like laundry baskets, electric fans, air fans, or anything that my friend can use in her apartment or his apartment. It's like chairs, cooking wares, cooking utensils, anything that she can use, or soap, shampoos, any necessities for the apartments.
This task requires test takers to respond to the topic spontaneously, with very little planning time, which can sometimes impact lexical accuracy and fluency. However, as we would expect at high B2 level, this test taker is able to express their ideas with a good degree of precision and accuracy, while responding to the task in a reasonably fluent and effective manner. His response tails off towards the end, as he seems to realize that he's said everything he wants to, but that there is time remaining. The overall quality of the response would have been improved if, instead of listing alternative items, soap, shampoos, he had rounded off his response with an effective conclusion by clearly restating and/or further explaining his original suggestion, something we would expect at C1 level.